for watching another episode of 28 Days of Color presented by S.T.E.A.M Engine Academy. Today is episode 20, Color and Finance. And today we'll talk about the history of Nat Turner's slave rebellion, and then we'll speak with Heather Jamison to talk about financial literacy and how we can be more proactive about it in the Black community.
Nat Turner was born October 2nd, 1800 in Southampton, Virginia. Turner was the son of an African native named Nancy, and his father was an escaped African. Nat's owner, Benjamin, had a son who taught young Nat how to read. Nat would be sold to different owners following Benjamin's death and would find himself under Samuel Turner, Ben's brother. From a young age, Nat was told by his mother and his grandmother how special he was due to his visions. Nat was a very religious young man and would often be reading the Bible or praying or reading, and even would be preaching to other enslaved Africans and even in some cases to whites. At the age of 21, Nat experienced the first of his prophetic visions of a great change while on the run after escaping from Samuel Turner. In this vision, God told him to return back to the plantation as he had much work to do. His second vision would come after the death of his former master, Samuel, and being sold to a new home, that of Thomas More. His vision was that of blood on leaves and on trees. Nat would have his third vision at 28 years old that would tell him how he should rise up against his masters. In 1830, Nat would move to the residence of Joseph Travis, the new husband of the now deceased Thomas More's wife. Now Nat would have two more visions, the first being an eclipse where he would plan with other slaves for a revolt on July 4th. This, however, was cancelled due to Nat being sick. The actual rebellion, however, would not happen until August 31st, where Nat and several Africans would fight back, killing the Travis family along with 60 other whites while on the way to Jerusalem to reach the armory. Turner's rebellion was quickly squashed and he was captured on October 30th, 1831. He would be tried and convicted and sentenced to hang November 11th, 1831. In the aftermath of his rebellion, over 200 blacks were murdered and killed as retaliation from white mobs, white militias, and armed white men. And this would also cause Virginia to pass stricter laws against black people, such as prohibiting them from reading and writing, and also white preachers having to be at black churches.
Welcome back to another episode of 28 Days of Color presented by S.T.E.A.M Engine Academy. Today's episode, Color and Finance. We're here with Heather Jamison as she discusses financial literacy. How are you, Heather?
I'm doing great. How about you?
Good. Starting the day off right, talking to you. Glad to have you.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
So I want to ask, how long have you been in finance and what got you interested in that field?
So I'm going into my 5th year. Originally, I wanted to be a social worker. I always knew I wanted to help people, and that was kind of the baseline of what I knew I wanted to do. And the profession that I was in while I was in college, because most of us have to work through college nowadays, I got to work hand in hand with medical social workers. So I got to really see the profession, before I actually went into it. And I realized that there was a lot of things in that I wasn't going to be able to emotionally, do. And so while I was in school, I realized that's not what I should be in school for. So as I was doing my thesis, I was looking into housing discrimination. And so within just kind of researching about why there is such a discrepancy between, home ownership between different races, I started falling into seeing different products and things like that were kind of promoted by these different people who had done, what they needed to do in order to buy a house. And I had never heard of some of these things. And it really bothered me because I feel that I'm pretty intelligent, and I was like, how come I've never heard of that? And why did my parents not do this for me? And, all those questions that surround it. And so I decided to turn from wanting to be a social worker into looking at financial products and different ways to educate myself and other people, and use my profession as a way of, giving back to the community and still helping people, but just kind of in a different fashion.
Right. And that makes sense. A lot of us think the same things, like, how did we not know? How did this not come up? And it's one of the things we'll discuss today. So how has this field impacted your life personally? And professionally too?
So this is one of the most rewarding careers that I've ever experienced. It's really nice to be able to come home every day from work and know that I made a significant difference in someone's life, in their kids' lives, and even their parents' lives, right? Because when you're talking about money with people, you're talking about their entire family, not just the people that live in their homes. There's a lot of different things that come into play when it comes to finances, and it's a blessing to be able to show people that things that they didn't know were available to them, or goals that they didn't know that they would ever be able to reach.
That's really special, especially when we're talking about the whole family. We all have plans for our family, and we all want to do everything the best way that we can and do something that will support our kids long after we're gone. So I think that's a discussion that we need to have more often. What is something you've done in the field, something that's been completed by you that you're proud of?
So I would honestly say it's the education piece. I have met with people that when they initially come to me, it's kind of hey, I don't know what I should be doing at all. Show me the way. What do I need to do? And I have a lot of real honest conversations with people. And one of the most rewarding ones is when, someone may come to the table, we're talking, and I say, okay, here's a couple things I need you to do before we can get to the point where, we're really creating something for you. And, having that person come back to me in maybe a year or however long it takes them, and the excitement of like, look what I did, it's super rewarding. And then they're sharing it with their friends, right? Which is the basis of what I want to do. Make sure that it's getting out to everyone and not just, sticking within the people who are, high level executives and things like that, right? We all need to know this information, but it's really hard for a lot of us to get it. So just that intrinsic reward is awesome.
Very nice. And so why do you think it's a challenge to approach the discussion of financial literacy in the Black community?
Because it's very private. It's something that we're kind of culturally taught that too. Mind your business. How much I make has nothing to do with you. What I'm doing with this has nothing to do with you. So it makes it kind of a hard thing to breach. And also, you don't want people to judge you, which is understandable, right? We don't put, a lot of us put out all of our business on Facebook, but you're not going to put, hey, I couldn't pay X, Y, and Z bill this month. Like most of us, we don't want to show people kind of sore spots. So, and that's kind of everybody in general, but it's even more so in the Black community that we kind of want to hide that stuff away. We're proud people, you know. We don't want people to think that there's anything going wrong or that we're not doing right. So
that's really insightful. Gives me something to think about. And for those who want to get involved, you know, whether they want to get their retirement together or finally get a savings or get into college, what are some ways that they can arrange to get that capital they need to pursue it?
So one of the biggest thing about finances is that every plan, no matter what it ends up being, is very personal. It's very, one plan does not fit everyone. So it's really, really important to reach out to a professional in your area and sit down and have the discussion with them about all the other things that are going on in your life. So a lot of the times we'll look at, okay, this is my income is X amount, which means I can't do anything, or, you know, without looking at your budget, you know, looking at the different things that you could do to free up a little bit of capital for yourself. And a lot of the time it really starts with budgeting, and having a third party look at your budget can really put a lot of things into perspective. Sometimes the things that we feel are really important to us, we may not realize how much money we're putting out the window to do those things. Like, as an example, eating out at restaurants, or now because we're, you know, all at home, door dashing, right? A lot of the times we have no clue how much money we're throwing at stuff like that. And there may be just a little tweak that we can do that's going to put us in a better financial situation, to not have to, you know, rob Peter to pay Paul. But the first step is always, always, always talking to a professional and having someone else look at what you're doing and be able to give you advice.
All right. And fair, professional help is important. What suggestions do you have for parents who want to implement these discussions with their kids earlier on?
I really love the idea of just being open about money. So in the Black community, I feel like we've all heard this. Do you have McDonald's money? Right? Well, I personally say that to my daughter. I think it's hilarious, but going a little deeper within that, right? So let's show our kids, you know, how to kind of budget. So if you have, you know, you can do it kind of like how we do homework with kids. You have $10. What can you buy with that $10? And get them to talk to you about it and talk through it. Then they'll have a better relationship with money. And by that, I mean just not being scared of money, because I think that's something that kind of manifests itself in your adult life when, you know, you're spending money, but you don't want to look at it because you're scared of what you might have done or how you might have overspent. You know, we've all been there, but I think it kind of starts with just being open with your kids about money. Have them count it out. You know, if try to work in cash when you're dealing with buying specific things for kids. You know, pull money out of the ATM and say, okay, this is all that you have. And when you guys are shopping, you know, you're at whatever store, they know this is the budget, and then you can help them do like a total, you know. So, okay, you started with $20. You really wanted this toy, it's $13. Let's see how much money you have left. Do you really want this? And that really helps because I've done it with my daughter, and she'll put stuff back. She'll go, oh, actually, I wanted to get 2 toys, but if I get this one, I can only get 1. All right, well, now we're budgeting and we're, getting them used to the idea of money and how to work with it.
Nice. And if you had a class and you were teaching financial literacy, what's one of the first things you would want to teach a student if they knew nothing about money?
I know it sounds simple, but spend less than what you have. This is, and it's a very broken down thing, but it's something that most adults struggle with. Even, past just, making sure rent is paid and, electricity is on and things like that, we still, for the most part, end up spending more than what we have. So that is going to be just the real baseline of it, and deciding before you spend the money how much of it you want to have left over.
Right. And with what you've experienced in the past 5 years, if anyone wants to get into this field, get into the finance industry, what are some things they should look out for? What should they think of when they start out?
I would say, as far as like company wise,
whether they're in business to support other families in finance, whether they want to become CPAs, or trying to figure out for their families what they need, where should they start?
I would say first and foremost, we all have Google at our fingertips at all times. So look into if you have like a real monetary thing that, goal that you want to hit, look up the average, how well those people do. But then also on the other side of it, look for professionals who are in that field and schedule meetings with them. Because no one can tell you exactly what it's like to be, in this or that field more than someone who's actually in it. So each, within the financial sector, there's so many different routes that you can go. You can say, I love finance, but I'm really good at building software. You could be a person that makes, financial software, and you're technically in finance. So I would say, look at all the things that you like doing and, kind of make a funnel into that specific career, and do real research on the type of education that you'll need to do it. Because there are some where, you're going to have to go to a 4-year plus, all these specialized trainings. But then there's also some that are just going to be a very specific license that you need to get. And so you don't want to waste time and money getting things that you thought you might need to get into that profession, and they're not even relevant to that particular field. So, but that will also be, clarified if you reach out, just Google whatever that profession is, Google it and say, that profession near me. And it's going to pull up a list of all these different people, and, use your family and friends, the people that you already know, to help you to reach out to someone that they may know. They may have, if you want to be a CPA, they may know a CPA and can introduce you that way. But it's always really helpful to talk to a person that's already in the field.
And while we're talking about, people getting into this field, especially in the Black community, what do you think is the importance of Black people working in finance?
Oh, it's so important. I always use this story of when you think about, we'll say a financial planner, just to pull out a profession out of the sky, right? When you think of a financial planner, think of someone who deals with someone's money, just in general. You think of a stockbroker. Those people, that first thought in your mind is going to be a 55-year-old white guy. And that 55-year-old white guy is going to have this beautiful house. He has beautiful cars in the front, and he has in his backyard, there's this big old pool, and he has, all his friends are coming in his house to have these nice barbecues all summer, right? When you're talking to people and you're, around people, they typically look like you. They're in the same, they have the same kind of socioeconomic status as you. All those people, they end up sharing their information within each other. And what happens when you don't have a Black advisor, you don't have, we're not in these fields, this information isn't getting out to our community because it's being stuck, in that big house with the big pool in the backyard, right? So representation is everything. There's so many companies now that are, realizing that they need to hire more people of color in general. That I've seen where there's places that are willing to help, pay for your trainings and, things like that for you to get your foot in the door. So we have to have our seat at the table, and we have to be there in order to share our information with our community, because otherwise it's not going to get there.
And I feel that personal approach of really understanding that culture will hopefully kind of break down some of the barriers that make us as a community resist giving out information that can really help us kind of customize our experience to what we need.
Yeah. Yes. And a lot of the time, we don't know what we don't know. A real common misconception that I get a lot is, people saying, "Hey, I really do want to talk to you. I really want to have this conversation, but I don't know how much your fee is," things like that. And there's a lot, and I mean a lot, of financial professionals that will have the discussion with you without charging you up front.
There you go.
And so there's a big barrier that a lot of us don't, I didn't think about that until someone actually said it to me as a professional. And I was like, wow, people think that, they have to, pay you to talk to you. But a lot of the time, that's not the case at all.
Well, I appreciate you giving us this insight and really saying some very relatable things about that McDonald's money, because that I've heard it said to me, I've said it, I'm passing it on. It's probably going for the 50 some odd years that McDonald's has existed. You got McDonald's money?
Right.
Hey, thank you so much for being here. And I look forward to talking with you more and really coming up with something that I can do with my students to kind of start that process and start that way of thinking. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Take care.
Finishing off our episode with Color and Finance, we're going to read about Meko and the Money Tree. This book was written by Ulika Kimber, and the pictures are done by To Go Sketch Illustrations. In this story, a young girl finds out the reasons why she can't have everything that she wants, but finds out more about how to have more in the future. Meko and the Money Tree. One day, Mikko was grocery shopping with her mom and her sister Maya. As always, they were only getting the basic items. Mikko loved seeing all the wonderful goodies at the store, especially in the cereal aisle. "Mom, look," said Mikko. "These cereals look yummy. Can we try a few of them?" "Tamika," Mom said, "money does not grow on trees. You can only spend each dollar once. You may pick one cereal." Mikko was disappointed, but chose the less expensive brand of cereal that they always got. Mikko was outgrowing her shoes, so her mom took her to the store to get a new pair. She saw a pair of glittery red ruby-colored party shoes on display. They were the most stylish, the fanciest shoes Mikko had ever seen. "Mom, look at these shoes. They're even in my favorite color." Mom held up a larger size of the same pair of shoes that Mikko already had. "Tamika, money does not grow on trees. These shoes are well made and they go with both of your school and church clothes. We can only spend each dollar once." Mikko was disappointed, but agreed to get the less expensive pair of shoes. "Hi, Grammy," said Mikko. "What are we having tonight?" "We had a lot of leftovers, sweetheart," said Grammy. "I thought I'd make a nice pot of soup with them." "Leftovers again," complained Mikko. "Why can't we go to Burger Max and have a Mac Shake, a combo tonight? We haven't gone in ages." "Oh, Tamika," said Grammy. "You know that money doesn't grow on trees. We can only spend each dollar once, so we must make the most of what we have." After dinner, Mikko sulked in her room. Mom and Grammy always said the same thing. Money doesn't grow on trees. Money doesn't grow on trees. Mikko looked out her window at the apple tree growing in the backyard. What if money did grow on trees? If Mikko and her family had their own money tree, life would be so different. If they had a money tree, Mikko would be able to choose as many flavors of cereal as she wanted. She would be able to have glittery, ruby-colored party shoes for every day of the week. She would be able to eat at Burger Max every day and order all the different kinds of milkshake, Mac Shake combos she could eat. Whenever Mikko was low on money, she would have to go to the backyard and pick more money from her money tree. They would never run out. Mikko's daydream was interrupted by her mother. "Mikko, honey," Mom said, "I'm heading to my 6 p.m. nursing class, then I'll be at work at midnight. I'll see you in the morning before you go to school. Don't forget to finish your homework, and please go to bed on time." Mikko's mom worked as a hospital helper. She helped patients with bathing, dressing, and meals. She also attended nursing school so that she could become a nurse. Mikko was often sad that her mom was always gone when it was time for bed. "Mom works so hard," sighed Mikko. She wished she could go on vacation. With the money tree, they could afford to travel somewhere with a beach, and everyone could play and relax all day. They could afford to eat at restaurants too. No more leftover soups. Mikko and her family would never have to worry about money again. This is what life with the money tree would be like. The next day, Mikko told her mom about her dream of the money tree. "We could buy lots of things, Mom. We wouldn't have to choose only one cereal or plain shoes, and you wouldn't have to go to school or work all night." "Mikko, I know things have been hard since your dad passed away, but everything I do for you and your sister. I enjoy my work, helping people who are sick. Working the midnight shift allows me to go to school. When I finish, I will be able to earn more money, and then we will be able to do many of the things we dreamed of." "I dream of Burger Max and red ruby-colored shoes," said Mikko. Mom said, "Well, I dream of you going to college." "Burger Max and red ruby-colored shoes are temporary. You will be hungry again, and you will outgrow shoes. But what you learn can feed and clothe you for a lifetime. I want you to learn to water the money tree inside of you." Mikko said, "Come on, Mom. Money trees don't grow inside of people." Mom laughed and said, "Think of your money tree as your potential. There is a place inside of you full of potential and possibilities. Money doesn't grow on trees, and you can only spend each dollar once. I choose to spend our money on things that give us the ability to make more money in the future. Mikko said, I think I get it. You're going to nursing school and you want me to go to college so that we can earn money for a better life in the future. You got it. Now let's get you off to school, said Mom. Yeah, it's time to go to school and water the money tree in me. The end.
Mas não. Mas não. Mas não. Na viagem. Espesso. Na viagem. Espesso. Mas não vou sem te chamar.